We're doing this again already.
We're doing it again. Welcome to the Sex Ed with Nickalicious, the delicious Nickalicious and Dawg, where we teach you how to manually masturbate other men, and we do a good job at it here.
We're pretty good. We don't mean to. We don't want to brag or anything.
See, a lot of times when we start this podcast, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what you're going to say. I'm the delicious Nickalicious.
I am Rob.
And I was when I just said that, I was thinking like, as far as jerking other people off.
You always got to be thinking about that.
I don't like being jerked off because only I know how I like it.
Right.
And then when someone else, they can't get the rhythm right. But anytime my wife wants to get down and dirty, I'm all for it. but it's taken a lot of time. I've taught her the rhythm.
Yeah, you got to think of how long we've been practicing.
Yeah. She knows she's got to do it to stay alive. That's the beat she has to do. Right. As long as she can stay with that.
Makes me think of The Office.
Oh yeah, that's for CPR too, right?
Yeah.
That's right. They taught us that.
100 beats per minute.
100 beats per minute. I can do it in far under 100 beats. I promise. If you've never listened to the Brohio podcast before, close your fucking ears, turn this off, head the other direction.
You're gonna hear more of this.
We are an MA-rated podcast. We talk about all of the unknown, the supernatural, murders, suicides,
our assholes,
orgies. Our assholes. Talk about a lot of nasty stuff.
Yeah, we do. We're wild.
We're tasteless.
Yeah.
But deep down inside, Rob, we have beautiful hearts.
Yeah, we're sweet guys.
We care about our listeners.
We just like to peacock a little bit each week.
We don't care about the people that die in these stories. Sometimes we do.
Yeah.
And we would like to say to our new Patreon subscribers, all 2 of them, woo, thank you for your Patreon pledges. First off is Chase Nelson. Thank you, Chase, for your Patreon pledge.
And David Brandow.
And if you,
thank you,
would like a special shout out on the Brohio podcast,
who doesn't?
You can pledge $1 at patreon.com/Brohio podcast. You get your shout out. And if you're Sarah O'Brien, who's been a pledger for a long time, her birthday, I think it might have passed or it's coming up. All the emails run together. But Sarah, happy birthday. She was the one in charge of the Weiss Market Murders episode.
Yeah.
That is one of our most popular episodes ever. We had a good time making that.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Happy birthday, Sarah.
Yes, happy birthday.
We genuinely appreciate your support. And we also are very appreciative of the support we received at our live show this past week with Hillbilly Horror Stories in Twisted Philly.
That was absolutely amazing.
It was.
We had a great time, great turnout.
We sold out. There was somewhere north of 100 people there, somewhere around there. We had a super time.
Yeah, it was a really, really good time.
We met a lot of incredible people. I enjoyed shaking hands and hugging everyone and handing out stickers. No one tried to make, well, there was one guy, he tried to make out with us, but he did buy us a drink first.
So it's okay.
He said, "Can I buy you guys a drink?" And I said, "I guess." And then he comes back. I'm like, "What is this?" He's like, "I thought he said butterscotch." I'm like,
"No, he said Beam."
I said, "Oh, that sounds really good." And I'm not, believe it or not, I don't enjoy foreign substances in my body at all. Foreign objects is a different thing, and we're going to get to that here in a second with our news story. I'm not a big fan of drinking the alcohols or partaking in marijuanas or heroines or ecstasy. I don't do that stuff. Right. I do sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, drinking.
Yeah.
Specifically, stay away from the drugs.
I do heroin every now and then.
My cholesterol can't handle it. But I thought he said it's a butterscotch. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy to take.
Right.
And I throw it back, just straight beam.
Your throat's fire.
I said, oh my God.
Tell me we didn't get that much, that made me so much more hot that night.
It did, dude. It was
burning up.
It was hot in the beginning.
Yeah, it was rough.
Someone that didn't even know me, that had no idea, they didn't know me. This is their first time meeting us. They walked up to me and they said, "Are you fucking okay?"
Wow, you're sweaty.
I said, "I know. I am dying right now. It's hot in here." And then Jerry from Hillbilly, he saved the day. He said, "I'm going to go ask him to turn the heat off." I said, "Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that, brother."
Yeah, it was pretty rough in there. You'd walk out of our room and it was 30 degrees cooler out there.
Right. It is what it is. We had a great time. We're going to do it again soon.
Absolutely.
And a special thank you to Dina Marie from Twisted Philly.
Ooh, she killed it.
And Jerry and Tracy from Hillbilly Horror Stories.
Killed it.
Go check all them out. They've been forwarded their versions of the live episode. I'm not sure what they're going to do with them. we are going to put our live version up on Patreon, but we also did a live stream on our Facebook page, the main page.
We did.
We didn't save it just for the butt chuggers in the closed group. We put it on the main page.
We're thinking of everybody.
If you would like to be in our closed group, it's called Butt Chuggers Anonymous, the Brohio podcast group. The password to get in? Bill Wilkins. Try it.
It's like the Wild Wild West in there, though, so be careful.
It's Wild Wild West.
It's a good group of people, though.
It's fantastic. They all care. It's like one big family, man.
Yeah.
They're doing a Christmas exchange this year with one another. They got all kinds of awesome stuff going in there.
They're good people.
People soliciting money in there and people give it to them and shit. It happens. I think it does happen.
What can you do?
I don't know what goes on in there.
I don't either.
Also, if you would like to check us out on Twitch, or we were going to go live on Twitch tonight, but I don't have a cord long enough for a fucking camera, which I figured out at the last second. We are on Snapchat. We are on Instagram. We're on Twitter. All of those. We have the same handle for everything, Rob. And how many people in this day and age can accomplish that? They have all those social medias. We have the same handle for everything. It's at Brohio Podcast. Check us out on Snapchat.
Or the OG Brohio Podcast.
We are the OG. Someone wrote us an email the other day, and the email address was thebrohiopodcast@gmail.com. And I said, what a bunch of stinky fucking assholes for taking that one. But if you want to write us an email, it's brohiopodcast@gmail.com.
Man, they put the in front and just stole that shit.
I said, we'll take it. We'll buy it from you for $5.
Right.
And then we'll sell it back to you for $10. That's how that's going to work. We had probably 50 or 60 new reviews last week on iTunes.
That's crazy.
That is insane for anyone in the podcast world.
And it came out of nowhere too.
We jumped up like 40 spots on our respective charts.
Yes.
And that's all due in part to you guys. So if you can, keep flooding the iTunes with the reviews. If you don't have an iPhone, you can download iTunes momentarily on your desktop computer or laptop. Leave it on there. You can also leave us reviews on Stitcher. That helps us out. But
yeah, that means the world.
The iTunes reviews, that's what fucking, that puts the fucking gas in the motor right there. That's what gets it going.
Then we can get all the Dan Browns to listen to us.
Hello, my name's Dan Brown. I can't do it. I'm not Dan Brown. I can't be Dan Brown.
Dan Brown's a little tired today.
Can't be something I'm not.
He spent all day sitting at home with a lower backache.
Now let me tell you, Rob. Sometimes I have an article for you, sometimes I don't. And by sometimes, I mean every single fucking time.
Yeah, you do. You always pull through.
And what did I text you earlier today?
You had a good one.
I said I'm going to fold you up like a lawn chair today, buddy.
You got a spicy one.
And this comes from way of Sweden.
Oh.
Plans to make sex toys safer because so many people get them stuck in their rectum.
Is that really a thing?
Rectum. Sweden is looking at introducing safety standards for sex toys after a study revealed growing numbers of Swedes were forced to seek medical help after the items got lodged in their rectums.
Oh, man. You don't put them in that far.
In one Stockholm hospital alone, 73 people over a 7-year period sought emergency medical care for foreign objects stuck in their rectum.
You guys are freaks. I don't like it.
Oh, I love Swedish fish so much.
I don't know how the hamster got in my ass.
The study, published last July, has now prompted the Swedish Standards Industry, or SIS, to launch a proposal for introducing safety standards across the sex toy sector, together with representatives from manufacturers and consumer organizations. Quote, sex toys are used in the entire world, and as far as I know, there's no research which can state what is the most common injury.
Prolapsed rectum, obviously.
Since these products are used everywhere, it is important that the standard now being developed becomes global, explained Anna. This is a Swedish word. This is a last name from Sweden. Storgen. It's SJ with an O, and the O has two eyes, like two little eyeballs above it. GREN.
It's like a shocked face.
Yeah. Oh, no. The most commonly lodged objects were dildos and butt plugs, which the study by a southern Stockholm hospital found were present in just over 40% of the cases. Rob,
I was wondering, like, what are they shoving in their asses? No. Eagle talons?
No. Dildos and butt plugs only accounted for 40%. What else is there to do? We haven't seen Fluffles in 3 days. We put her cat food down, and usually when we shake the bag up, She comes running, but we haven't seen her. In the remainder, a variety of other items, including candles, bottles, and vegetables were found, though the report noted that the incidents leading to the accidents were almost always linked to sexual pleasure. Hey, how far you think I can cram this potato up my ass before I need to go to the hospital? I got a baked potato stuck in my butt. I was putting some butter on it. I slipped and fell on it. Those who sought treatments for lodged objects were disproportionately likely to be male, with a median age of 41.
Good for them.
Though the total age range spanned from 15 to 92. You think I'm afraid of the Nazis? Watch how far I can stick this spoon up my butt. What's more, the authors noted that the true figure of sex toy retention was likely even higher than the study suggests, given reluctance to seek care for a potentially embarrassing condition. I can live my life with this tomato in my ass. I'm not going to the hospital. That's like my dad. He's stubborn, and I'm like, you're sick. Go to the hospital. I'm not going to the fucking doctor. That's kind of the same way when you get a stalk of carrots stuck in your butt. I'm not going to the doctor. Well, your 92-year-old great-grandpa. They also suggested that a safety string or adequate size stopper could have prevented many of the affected patients from retaining the items. A stopper. Right here we have the Magna Destroyer 5000. Now you see that third rib. Once you get to that third rib, you're not going to go any further. That's the stopper for this butt plug.
Then people will try to get the stopper stopped in their ass. You're just setting up higher goals for these people.
Oh my God. I've been known to swallow a stopper or two, but my favorite things are they're wanting to install safety strings on them.
Just pull it out.
You can sell like black market dildos with no safety string. All these strings do are get tangled up my pubic hairs. I want ones without the safety strings, and just can't get them no more.
92-year-old man.
The SIS proposal for sex toy standards will be submitted to the International Organization for Standardization in the hope that it will be adopted by other countries. Quote. Currently, there are no international or Swedish standards for these types of products. Each manufacturer and retailer have their own test methods based on standards and rules from documents with similar material or safety perspective. Oh my God. Whew. What do you think, Rob? It also says here, while some products are covered by general requirements for chemical content and the EU low voltage directive... You ever fucked a car battery before? Jesus. They do not fall in the category of medical devices, which are subject to specific quality checks. So, our advice to you from the Brohio podcast is try not to get some of this stuff so far up your butt that you got to go to the hospital for it.
That has to be embarrassing.
If you do get it all the way up there, send us a picture, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. We'll tell you if it's something that you should seek medical attention for.
I don't mean to kink shame, but that's a little too far.
My eighth grade Spanish teacher, one day, she went around the room and she told everyone, she said, this is what I think you will be when you grow up. And she went around the room and everyone's like so excited. They're like, she gets to one girl, she's like, I think you're going to be a history teacher. She gets to one kid, she says, I think you're going to be a police officer. And then when she gets to me, she just fucking sat there and stared at me. She's like, I think you're going to be a gynecologist. I said, what the fuck is that? She said, just, you'll know. You'll know. You'll figure it out. But think about that. In the 8th grade, I didn't even know what a gynecologist was. That's how skewed the youth is now.
You've come a long way.
I've come a long way. I mean, I can't come a long way because low T, but I've come a long way.
Amen, brother.
Well, now what we're covering today is called the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. This is probably one of the most covered paranormal topics in the history of all podcasts.
I'm just here for the beer. But
we are covering it Brohio style. One of our favorite sister podcasts, Hillbilly Horror Stories, they covered it. They went there. I think some crazy shit happened when they went there, if I understand correctly.
Made Jerry's hair stand on ends.
That's not funny. He can't help it.
Hey, that's what I'm getting there. That's why I can make the joke.
So let's get to it here, Rob.
Let's get to it.
I'm gonna try a little more diligence in citing my research here. Okay.
All right.
Because sometimes we just copy and paste. I think that's illegal. But
if I do that, I try to shout out.
Yeah, but I don't think anything here in this today is copy and pasted at all. So I should be okay. But this portion of the research comes from therealwaverlyhills.com. The start of Waverly Hills takes us back to 1883, the year JFK was assassinated. The land was purchased by Major Thomas H. Hayes. Major Thomas bought the school specifically to have a designated area for his children to go to school.
He just want to get his fucking kids out of the house.
Can you imagine? I'm so sick of these fucking kids. I'm just gonna build a goddamn school out back. That's some serious shit right there,
You
buddy.
must fucking hate your kids that much. Just buy land for that.
But back then, dads were different than they are now. They just
You should beat the shit out of them. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, you can, but you just got to be. It's body shots. You can't hit him in the face. I remember in prison when there'd be a big scrum and you're beating somebody up and you hear like one of the old fuckers that have been there for like 40 years. He's like, body shots only, body shots. He's fucking done it so many times, and all those young guys are like throwing elbows in the guy's face, and this old man's like, yeah, hit him in the fucking shoulder blades, knock the wind out of him. Fuck his spine up. And these new guys are trying to break his orbital and fucking cave his nose in and shit. That's the way it goes down, though. And if it does seem like we're a little bit burned out here, we've done about 8 or 9, 15 different topics in the past week and a half.
I don't even know what day it is anymore. I don't know.
Bear with us. I'm sick and fucking tired of researching shit. I'm sure Rob's sick of doing a fuck podcast, but here we are. I said,
It's been
Rob,
rough.
last week was our best week by far in terms of downloads and people listening to us. And I said, Rob, we got to give them something. We got to follow it up. We got to give them something. Yep. And we were going to go with a really, really big topic that would have broke the stratosphere. And Rob said, oh, I don't know, man.
Man, that's tonight. I got to work. I'm working right now. I'll contribute absolutely nothing to this.
But I said, no, we'll go with something a little easier.
We do have that big one planned, I think, for 2 weeks from now. So
yeah, and we owe a Patreon episode to one of our friends.
We'll get there.
But he has to give me a topic. He's given me about 15 different topics, so he's definitely next in line. He knows who he is. So yeah, this guy, Major whatever the fuck his name is, he bought a goddamn school for his kids. Major Thomas. He started a one-room schoolhouse hiring a woman named Lizzie Lee Harris.
Okay.
Lizzie named the building Waverly School due to a love of the Waverly novels. Mm. So there's the connection there of where that name come from.
I was thinking the Wizards of Waverly Place. I thought they were naming it after that.
I think that show fucking sucks dick, Rob. I think that's Rotten Tomatoes, or is it Rotten or Fresh? Rotten is bad.
Yeah. That's
the website I use before I go see a movie. My wife's like, we should go see this. I'm like, I'm going to check it out on Rotten Tomatoes real quick. It's like a 40%. I'm like, I'm not fucking going, babe. Sorry. But we're going to go see Bohemian Rhapsody this weekend.
Nah, that's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. My kids were talking about it, and I was like, you guys knew who Freddie Mercury is? And my kids were like, and Stacy's like, stop. Stop. I was like, I didn't even say anything. Stop. Around 1908, the Board of Tuberculosis Hospital purchased the building and the area. Now, this sanatorium was strictly used for housing tuberculosis patients.
TB patients.
I had no idea how serious there
was some bad shit back in the
TB
day.
epidemic was, and how many people it was killing. It was raping everybody.
Yeah.
At the time, TB was some nasty, nasty shit. In the 19th century or the 1800s, TB killed 1 out of 7 people that lived in America.
Ooh.
1 out of 7. So all of those people in the Honduras caravan march that's getting ready to come across the border, they would all be dead. We wouldn't be facing that right now. Have you been watching that in the news, Rob?
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
I've been keeping up on it. There's like 10,000 immigrants that fucking walked from South America. They're in Mexico right now. They just got to the Mexican border. There's 10,000 of them, and they're marching together to come to America to just walk across the Mexican Texas border. Listen, Rob and I have never said we're fans of Donald Trump. I'm not a fan of anybody.
Right.
I couldn't give a fuck less. I'm a fan of that guy that was sending the fake pipe bombs last week. Just some fucking like Indian guy with a fucking ponytail. He's like, no, none of them worked. What was that guy trying to fucking accomplish? Okay,
that's that fucking Fight Club mentality. It's just chaos.
Yeah, he lives in a van. He lived in the parking lot of the pizza place he worked at. Oh my god! But if I were these Honduras people, I would wait another for another president to take office before they come to the border like 10,000 deep. Because I think Cheeto Man is fucking. He will pull it out. I hope that doesn't happen.
Cheeto Man.
I hope it doesn't happen, but whatever. It's gonna happen.
Who knows what's gonna happen?
I don't fucking care, Rob. Yeah. Now, all the way up until 1882, until a discovery by Robert Koch or Koch or however you want to pronounce it, TB was thought to be a genetic disorder, or you could inherit this from your family. Not the case. So discovering that this infection was actually highly contagious was the first step towards curing or finding a cure for TB. The symptoms were hacking, bloody coughs, debilitating pain in your lungs, and fatigue. But not before tuberculosis claimed around 110,000 deaths per year during the 1900s.
That's wild.
I don't think there was 110,000 people alive in 1900, but it fucking killed all of them, okay?
Every person.
You think you would have shit your ass out and died on the Oregon Trail?
Oh, definitely. No doubt.
I'd have been shitting my hand and throwing it at people.
Yeah.
Trying to steal stuff off my wagon and shit.
Yeah, I would have been up to my ass in dysentery.
Rob has died from dysentery.
Yeah.
People were banished to these sanatoriums, isolated from society, left to die, and live a life of misery.
Sounds like it.
And I watched some interviews on YouTube today. There was one old woman, I can't remember her name, but she just talked about how people would be brought to the Waverly Hills, and their family would just leave them. They would visit them a couple times, and they would see the threat of contracting the infection, and they would just
peace out.
They just leave them there.
Like, have fun.
And she said her family would come, and then they stopped coming, and her room was right by the elevator, and she would hear the elevator come up and ding, and she would be like, oh, my family's here, and she would poke her head out. And every single time it wasn't her family.
That's so sad.
Her family quit coming. This was like a 92-year-old woman giving this interview.
That's
I
heartbreaking.
Googled her. I found a landline for her. I was going to fucking call her, but I was like, she literally would fucking hate our guts.
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about that.
And I knew she would answer because people that old have landlines.
Right.
Maybe we'll call her around 11:30.
She's just sitting there watching her soaps by him every morning.
Definitely, but she was super funny. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can check out that interview. It was a really good one. Waverly Hills Sanatorium officially opened for business on July 27th, 1910. Bring 'em in, stack 'em up, bring 'em in, drag 'em in. You got the funk lung. We got the cure. No, they didn't have the cure because they had no fucking idea how to cure this shit. And here I am. This is how deep my medical knowledge is, Rob. I'm reading about tuberculosis earlier for about an hour and a half, and I'm thinking, this is the shit they gave me a shot for when I cut my finger with that piece of metal, right?
That's what they do.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, that was a tetanus shot.
Yeah.
And I don't know what a tetanus shot keeps you from getting. Is it tuberculosis?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But here all this time, I'm doing this research. I'm like, man, I'm glad I got that fucking shot after I cut my finger. Because this tuberculosis shit looks like it's for the fucking birds. The original plan was for the building to house around 40 to 50 TB patients at any given time. And as we know, I've been dealing with the government for a long time. I used to work at a prison that was meant to house about 1,000 people. 3,000 people later, fucking triple bunk beds, dicks everywhere, old men getting their shit pounded out in the shower. It doesn't always work like that, Rob Dawg. The plan of treatment around this time was mostly isolation and fresh air. So they would literally put you outside like a fucking bad dog and say, like, you need this air. That's what's going to
fill the fresh air with tuberculosis.
That's what's going to fix you. Now, the one thing that's different about Waverly Hills is it's from it's down here in the hills of Kentucky. So every night before you come to bed, you're going to grab you a big old bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You're going to have you a goddamn drumstick. And then when you lay down, Colonel Sanders, he's going to come in here and he's going to take a piss all over your bed. So then all night long, you're going to twist and turn. You're going to roll around that wet bed and Colonel Sanders piss. That's what's going to make you feel better is the Colonel taking a big old piss all over your belly while you taking a sleep. That's how we cure the tuberculosis here in Kentucky, the state of Kentucky with the Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think you can get Kentucky Fried Chicken in other countries.
Okay.
is my belief.
All right.
I think it's overrated.
They got that. They got that TB flavored.
I'm going to come in here. Colonel Sanders going to take him a big old piss on you right when you're sleeping for your tuberculosis.
Big old creamy shit.
Is it tuberculosis or is it tuberculosis? Tuberculosis.
Depends on where you come from.
I'm coming right here, Rob Dawg.
All right.
Now, usually these sanatoriums were they put them on top of hills. They were giant, sprawling mansion-type settings where a peaceful scenery would theoretically help in their recovery. So they thought, you just relax, dude. Just chill out, breathe this mountain air. You're going to be fine. At the time, Jefferson County, Kentucky was absolutely inundated with reports of tuberculosis. The original building that was made for 40 to 50 people was quickly filled to its maximum capacity. I fucking told you, Rob.
That's what happens.
In 1912, they built an additional wing to house 40 to 50 people that was meant for advanced stage tuberculosis. So all these people, they're dying. And what the tuberculosis does is it just completely destroys your lungs, and you eventually you suffocate to death, and it's a horrible death. But eventually your lungs just get so fucking fat and just it squeezes you to death.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
In 1914, a children's pavilion was built with another 50 beds. The saddest part of the children's pavilion, it wasn't just for infected children, but for the children of the parents that were not well enough to care for their children.
Oh my gosh.
God.
That's horrible.
And they, if they acted up, they would fucking behead them. I made that up.
I was like, that's a little extreme.
Sick, you fucking double dipping in the fucking jello, you little fuckhead. As the buildings grew older, constant updates were needed. In October of 1926, a new building that could house 400 plus patients was opened. Eventually, breakthroughs in the cure for TB were made in around 1944, and Waverly Hills Sanatorium was no longer needed as of 1961. But it does not stop there. In 1961, they kind of converted it over to like an old folks facility for late stage dementia, things like that. So the misery didn't stop with the tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
It's said that when it transitioned to the facility for the elderly with dementia and whatnot, there was a lot of electrotherapy that was utilized.
Surprise! A
lot of questionable torture tactics. Yeah. I guess they were thought at the time to be progressive medical experiments, but ultimately they were torturing and
making
causing
it completely
little
worse.
Yeah. Now, TB causes near lung incapacitation, eventually just suffocating you to death. Part of the application process to get into the sanatorium when being committed to Waverly Hills was acknowledging that you were probably going to die. That was in the application process. Like
way to look on the bright side.
But then the prognosis was so bad for this that you could either lay at home and die, undoubtedly die, or you could go to a place like this where you're probably going to die, but there's a chance that there might be someone there that knows what they're talking about. Highly unlikely. And one thing that kind of weighed on my heart when I was reading through all this research is the staff that worked at the hospital. So the doctors, the nurses, the orderlies. This was not like a 9 to 5, come and take care of the sick and then grab your lunchbox and go home. This was their life. They were isolated from their families. They were taken away from reality, essentially, and they were restricted to just Waverly Hills. So for as bad as it was for the patients, obviously, the people that worked there were getting the fucking meaty end of the dick for sure, too. And if there's one thing that you and I can handle, it's the meaty end of the dick. But I don't feel like I don't feel like this would be very good for us, Rob Dawg.
No, I'm good. I'm okay.
And the only thing that was worse than actually having tuberculosis, people are gonna fucking eat us up for me saying that.
I know.
Tuberculosis was the treatment that was performed on you. Essentially trying to cure you. Now, sitting outside, no matter how cold it was kind of the first step. So Like I said, fresh air is what they thought.
We're gonna freeze this out of you.
And they had giant. This place is nothing but windows and porches and pavilions. They would put people's beds on these patios, and they would make them essentially sleep outside. And they wouldn't bring them inside until the snow started to gather on the foot of their bed. That's how fucking serious they were.
That's gangster. That's gangster.
But some people listen to the podcast. I always sleep with the goddamn fan blowing on me. This is a little different there, Timmy.
Sleep with snow blowing on you.
You got snow blowing up your asshole. Oh man! Now one of the other. This is where it starts to take a little downhill turn right here. The sitting outside was just the beginning. Sometimes balloons would be implanted into the lungs of the patients.
Oh God!
Then the balloons were filled with air to cause the lungs to expand.
They're tying them into like giraffes and shit and shoving them into there. Like, I'm gonna make a hippo this time.
What can we do for you here at sick call today? Well, I was trying to look down my neck, take a look at my balloon knot, and I told the nurse, I said, "Come in here and take a look at my balloon knot, make sure it's okay." And I shit you not, she walked in and bent me over the waist and spread my butt cheeks apart, and I said, "Ma'am, why are you looking at my asshole?" And apparently there's some type of confusion about what a balloon knot is, and I'm trying to clear that up, Doc, because I think she might have got me pregnant, honestly.
She spreaded my butt cheeks.
She motorboated my butthole.
She tried to blow me up.
A Kentucky paddle boat.
What if that's how they did it? Did deflate their lungs, just started blowing into their asshole?
Yeah.
This ain't working, but this feels good.
This one's kind of got a fat neck. We better start it. We better go in through his asshole. Now, absolutely, they might have, but no one survived these kind of operations. They were all experimental. They were completely ineffective, essentially. And as we talked about, going to these sanatoriums, it was a fucking death sentence. One of the more morbid areas of Waverly Hills Sanatorium was a device called the body chute, Rob. And if you think you know what the body chute is,
yeah,
you're probably right. Now, obviously, death was slightly out of hand at the facility. To try and alleviate some of the stress from the staff as well as the people that live there. You all right? You want to talk about it real quick?
This is so funny. They just made like a fun little like twisty slide for him.
It played music. I promise the people going down the body chute were not making any sounds except for.
It's like they're almost dead, and then they get to have like a little bit of fun on their way down.
Quick shot of adrenaline,
and then they die.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It's like a light show and shit.
Jesus, they'd oil it down.
Yeah.
So to try and take some of the stress away from the staff,
they would race bodies. You won last time, Phil. I gotta win this time.
I got $4 on Herb. Here, Herb, we gotta turn you around. We gotta go head first. We gotta put your balloon knot closer to me. You gotta go down head first.
Man.
They thought that by using the body chute, they could keep the dead bodies away from the people that live there and kind of keep the dead bodies away from some of the staff. So they used the body chute to kind of draw the attention elsewhere and kind of keep the morale up. Now, whenever I watched the interview with the older woman,
mm-hmm.
She didn't seem like it was a completely miserable place to be.
You get to ride a slide before you go out.
What could go wrong? You get Colonel Sanders coming in, taking a big old neon green piss on you, and you get to take a ride down the fun slide.
You get someone to breathe their breath into your asshole. This is an all right place.
Oh, that's hot. I've been out of the porch. It's freezing out there. You come here and blow that hot air up my ass. Gonna make me shit myself. I shit like a goose. This is Kentucky. We don't got regular water. We got frog water. Oh, man. Get the old chocolate rundowns right there. Careful, Doc. Now, people, they go and investigate the body chute. But also, the body chute led to a series of tunnels, or a tunnel. And the tunnel was a way to get supplies into the facility without having to utilize, I guess, go up and down the hill that it was on. It was easier in the wintertime to use the tunnel, but the body chute led to the tunnel, is what I'm understanding here. But the fact that they're having to use a fucking body chute and tunnels to move these dead bodies back and forth, I'm reading through the research. The more conservative guesses are that there was around 6,000 deaths that occurred at Waverly Hills. On the flip side, there's some that say the records were so poorly kept that there can be 63,000 deaths that were tracked. They said that at one point during the height of all this, there was someone dying once per hour at the facility.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
That's horrible.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine, like, if that happened nowadays? You'd get shut down so fast.
Oh, my God, dude. It's just, we talk about, and we're obviously covering this as a paranormal hotspot. There's no fucking wonder why there's souls trapped here that can't transition over. It's just a complete doom and misery.
They just come back and ride the slide over and over again.
I gotta go back and try that fucking slide one more time.
I want to go down on my stomach. I'm going to go down on my back, head first, feet first. I'm going to do it all.
I was racing that one guy. He was throwing razor blades out like fucking Mario Kart. He threw a goddamn turtle shell at me. I could have beat that motherfucker.
I'm going to go down head first and have Phyllis sit on my dick.
Now, people that investigate the body chute, they claim to see a woman
The body chute.
floating.
That's unreal.
I know.
It's unreal.
If you, so the legend goes that they're just like, oh, we got another one, and then dump them down the slide. But in the more respective research, I should say, respected research, they say that it was just a series of trolleys and kind of gurneys to move the bodies through the facility without, drawing attention from the patients. So Rob and I, we like to err towards the more fucked up side. So in our opinion, they're just fucking tying them up and dumping them down the body chute, racing them,
Yeah, it's like, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but it's like the final scene in Toy Story 3. They're all just going.
No.
They're all just going down.
Oh my God!
I just made it so sad.
You gotta let them hold hands when you push them down. That's one of the things you do for them here. You let them hold hands when you shove them down the body chute. The people that investigate the body chute claim to see a woman floating in the area. This woman is said to be covered in blood with chains around her wrist, Rob. And when people try and reach out to her, say, "Hey, you need some fucking help?" she screams and wails like a banshee, and she like runs away from the people that are trying to help her. So that's one of the first paranormal aspects associated with the facility from people that go there and investigate. Now, why?
I think they call her Shrieking Sheila.
Shrieking Sheila's down there. She got chains on her wrist. She's trying to fucking fight everybody. She's drunk. She's been drinking Kentucky bourbon barrel ale. That shit's fucking hardcore. People think it's like Angry Orchard, but you drink 4 of those and then you're either fighting or fucking or blowing bubbles out of your butt. That stuff's hardcore shit, man. Screaming Sheila, she's down there with her fucking wrist chains on, trying to pop everybody in their jaw, man. That's the sound she makes when people see her. Hey, Sheila, is that you? I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm getting the fuck out of here. But she's covered in blood, too.
Oh, okay.
So why does she have chains on her wrist, Rob?
She's a freak.
I haven't got a fucking clue. That wasn't in the research.
She's a freak.
So that's what we're trying to speculate on right now. That possibly this is related to some of the morbid experiments they would carry out sometimes, that she was possibly chained down and experimented on.
I swear I just heard that door open.
I just heard something too. The room we are in is in my basement. My house is not haunted, but we just heard something.
I just heard. I saw you look over there. I thought someone was behind me.
I think it might have been the kitty cat wherever she's out there meowing. Maybe.
I'm spooked now. Sheila's ready.
That's our shrieking Sheila. We got her all fucking worked up.
That was her mating call.
But the building itself, Waverly Hills, did close for good in 1982. The building was auctioned and changed hands several times over the years. At one point, one of the owners tried to turn it. Well, this is in 1983. They tried to turn Waverly Hills into a prison, which would be a perfect setting for a prison, a minimum security level prison. But the neighbors that lived around Waverly Hills said, "No, fuck that, man. There's only two things we get around here. That's goddamn Dollar General or another goddamn KFC. If you ain't got no gravy or no fucking, if I can get some juju fruits for 99 cents, you ain't building a fucking goddamn thing."
I think it's a pretty accurate representation
It
of
is.
Kentuckians.
When I drive through Kentucky, it's nothing but fucking Dollar Generals and
Juju fruits.
yeah. I got my wife. She puts goddamn juju fruits in her butt and she holds them in there all day. And then we come back and I say, "Hey, Sheila, Shrieking Sheila, lay down. You're about to shoot these juju fruits out for Daddy real quick. Tired of playing these fucking games with you.
I love her.
Come in this bedroom one more goddamn time with no juju fruits in your butt. You're going to find out what it feels like to be punched in the face by a man." And here at the Brohio Podcast, we do not condone violence towards anyone. And if you are a domestic violencer,
Domestic
I
violencer.
hope you fucking die in a car fire. That's my official statement on that.
Amen, brother.
And if you're hitting women, it's not with your dick. Fuck off then.
Unless
And-
it's in a sexy way.
I guess. You said you like being choked?
I didn't mean to kill her.
I didn't know she was going to die. In March 1996, the buildings and surrounding areas were purchased by Robert Alberhasky.
No.
He said, "I'm going to build Christ the Redeemer on the giant statue in Rio de Janeiro with his arms stretched out." He said, "I'm going to build a fucking replica here." So he was actually part of the Christ the Redeemer Foundation. Amongst all of the projects that he was trying to do, a fucking gift shop and a sanctuary and a place to whatever, I don't know, whatever they fucking do. He needed somewhere around $4 million.
Holy shit.
Through donations, he was able to raise $3,000.
He just missed it by that much.
You know what's short? Your dick? No, yeah, but my donation's coming up a little short, sweetheart. I think we're going to have to move on to something else. But
Man.
being the ever so Christian gentleman that he was, he abandoned the property. He also lobbied to have it condemned so it could be redeveloped into something else. And like I said, with him being the fantastic Christian gentleman that he was, he tried to fuck up the foundation on purpose, to purposely try and get the building condemned.
Of course he did.
It's all about that.
If I can't have it, nobody can.
Skrilla.
Right,
In
exactly.
2001, it was sold to Charlie and Tina Mattingly, who are the current owners, and they pimped the shit out of this motherfucker.
Good for them.
They are completely riding out this "it's haunted" shit and bringing
Why
people
not?
through it.
Yeah, I would.
I was like, I'll get in here and look and see how much it costs. It's usually you're looking between $60 and $100 per person
nice.
to go through. So,
Good for them.
yeah. And it says all of the donations go towards renovation of the property. I think their ultimate goal here is to turn this into a spooky. They're trying to renovate, but they want to make it like a spooky, uppity bed and breakfast. Is what they're trying to do. Now, at the time when they bought this in 2001, it was severely weathered and it was barely standing. It was a magnet for homeless people to butt fuck each other inside the inside the rooms. There was also teenagers constantly passing through because there's nothing else to do in Kentucky besides smoke methamphetamines. They were looking for ghosts. They were looking for anything to take back to school at their house because they don't have schools in Kentucky. They just wake up in that school.
They just go down to the holler and learn about life.
Abraham Lincoln taught himself how to read a Bible by the fire. And I think he did briefly live in Kentucky, is my thought. I think.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
I think so. I think I always remember seeing that sign that says Abraham Lincoln's childhood home.
Yeah. You know that.
Yeah.
Now, we can move on to the paranormal aspect here. Full-blown fucking apparitions spirits moving throughout, sounds, groaning, moaning, all kinds of horrible shit going on at this place.
Is that from the hobos that live there?
Yes. Actually, one of these hauntings is from a hobo that took a tumble down a fucking elevator shaft. I'm not making that up, Rob Dog.
All right.
There I was drinking some Mad Dog 2020 looking for that fun slide everyone's talking about.
It's probably Hooch. He's fucked up off Hooch.
I got some homemade wine. I got from Justin Rimmel. He made me some peach wine. I'm up there walking around looking for the fun slide. I found it. I went down it. I fucking died at the bottom.
Did you know that damn thing leads to an incinerator?
Now I'm a ghost. People that are on the property here, they see self-slamming doors, human-shaped shadows slithering through the corridors, voices and wailing in the hallways, spirit clouds, balls of moving light.
Yes.
Fleshy genitalia balls flying around. They're like bats.
Phallic orbs.
These balls fly around, and the scrotum that uses the wings. People claim to get hit in the face by the scrotal sacs. They call them scrotal sac bats. They're not really flying genitals there, but there are claims of balls of orbs and moving lights that shoot around the facility there. One of the darker tales that scares the shit out of me personally, people have reported a phantom hearse that they observed pull up to the back door, and it started to unload coffins.
What the fuck?
Before leaving the area. And at that given moment, when you're sitting there, you're like, oh, I'm going to go check out some fucking ghosts tonight. And a fucking hearse pulls up, dude.
A ghost hearse?
A ghost hearse. It's just rolling on 22s and it pulls up. This big fat guy gets out, made of skeletons, made of bones. And he starts pulling coffins out of the back of the hearse and dropping them off, then drives away.
Man.
And it's that given moment that you need to say to yourself, we had better just fucking go home, you know? This is bad.
Yeah. Something
really fucked up is going on here. There's one room in Waverly Hills that is known as the draining room. That's where you go to take a piss if you drink. It's the draining room.
Is that where they drain the blood?
Yeah. The locals of the area were terrified of the patients that lived at the facility. Like we said, they were damned to this isolation. People were terrified of contracting tuberculosis.
Oh yeah.
The tuberculosis scare had taken over the entire country.
I'm sure the surrounding towns were fucking panicking.
People in New York City, and other high-rise cities, they would build a fucking tent around the window. They would open their window no matter how cold it was. They would build a big box tent that extended about 6 or 7 feet into the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And they would put their bed in the tent so they could sleep with the window open and get that concentrated fresh air. That was the general consensus of the doctors in America at that time, that people were is there something going on over there?
You don't see the TV moving? The TV keeps shaking.
It's probably from me fucking moving my fat fucking arms over here.
Damn it.
All right.
I'm freaking out over here.
Hold on a second. All right, so we stopped recording there. We're recording again. The fucking TV was shaking on the wall.
Something fucking crazy is going on
there.
there.
We heard the door that's right next to us open, but it didn't open.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm so scared right now. You ever been in the cemetery late at night and you're just sneaking around trying to set booby traps, and people's like, hey, what are you doing? You're like, hey, my name's Cemetery Terry, and I'm sneaking through the forest and the cemetery here, just setting my booby traps, trying to trap people in my booby traps. That's what it sounds like is going on here right now, Rob.
What happens when Cemetery Terry catches you in a booby trap?
He fucks the shit out of you.
Okay, duly noted.
You ever had a Bulgarian gas mask before? Like you're in that bear trap and you're just like, what the fuck is a Bulgarian gas mask? I'm gonna put my balls in your eye socket. I'm gonna fart in your mouth, and then you're gonna fucking die from trying to huff my fart out of my ass. You sick son of a bitch.
We've all been there.
Dude, I don't even know where I'm at. The draining room.
Yeah.
The locals, they were so terrified of contracting anything that the people had at the facility. They said, you have to do something to minimize the effect of these bodies being shuttled through our city or our little village here. They didn't have cities in Kentucky. They still don't have cities in Kentucky. It's mostly like villages and huts and shit. They feared the spread of disease in their communities. So to work around this, Waverly Hills had a room where deceased bodies were hung from hooks, and the blood was drained from their bodies along with other bodily fluids and secretions. It made the bodies lighter as well for transport.
Just like they do with deer.
Could you imagine hanging my fat ass up? Jesus Christ, how much gravy we going to get out of this one? Jeez, man. He smells like a Baconator. That's kind of cool. I love Baconators.
They are really good.
Now, on the third floor solarium, where people would sit for sunlight and fresh air, a little girl is often seen running up and down the halls. And there's a reoccurring apparition of a little boy chasing his toy ball. I want to say his name is Ricky or Timmy or something shit, but he does have a name. So a lot of paranormal investigators that go here, they take a ball up to the third floor with them and they put it on the ground. And dude, like clockwork, whether it's an uneven floor, it's wind, or it is a fucking ghost, these balls take off flying around.
Wild.
Like someone's playing with it. And if I could just take my balls up there and get them played with by a ghost, I would be very happy. What do you think the sweet touch of a ghost feels like on your genitals, Rob Dog?
Probably very soft, but cold.
Cold, yeah.
Yeah.
I like cold, though. I think cold's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, in the kitchen area of the facility, there are constant sightings of a man in a white coat. All the claims see him entering the kitchen when he's observed. Ghost hunters got a strong smell of baking bread in the kitchen and cafeteria as well one time after he was seen. One thing we've talked about a lot of times in the show when it comes to paranormal things, you oftentimes see some spirits just replay certain parts of their life over and over. I can't remember what it's called, but these ghosts will follow a certain path, and that's kind of their thing. Just over and over, they follow the same path. And several people see this man in a white coat going in the kitchen over and over and over. So that's kind of one of those repetitive type haunting, a residual haunt, I think it's what it might be called. One of the most active areas of the prison is the 5th floor. There's 2 nurses' stations, a pantry, a linen room, a medicine room, and 2 medium-sized rooms on both sides of the nurses' station. A lot of these stories point to room 502. It's said that countless people jumped to their death from room 502. I would have to imagine that the suicide rate at a place like this would probably be a little higher than the normal public, but also they said one thing that they dealt with in facilities like this is they were all trying to fuck each other, because these weren't like a bunch of old people. These were like people in the prime of their life. They were 20, 30, and 40-year-olds, and you're putting all these males and females in the same facility away from their families. They think they're fucking, banished forever.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they are.
You got to take the fucking garden hose and carry it around and squirt these fuckers because they're trying to have sex with one another and shit. But that was one of the problems, and that doesn't help with the spread of disease or infection and shit.
Definitely not.
You never want to have sex with an infected rectum. And like they're doing in Sweden right now with getting the butt plugs too far in there and shit, People often see misty figures moving in and out of the windows, disembodied voices and screams. Some claim that this floor housed the mentally insane patients. There's no official documents to say that anyone that was mentally insane was housed at this facility, but a lot of the rumors are that this specific floor is where they kept a lot of the mentally insane.
Let's get this insane guy TB. Let's see how that goes.
That'll fix him.
It's like a superhuman.
You won't be able to worry about how fucked up your brain is if you can't breathe. One of the nurses that was assigned to that floor was found dead in room 502.
Ooh.
In 1928, a nurse by the name of Mary Hillenberg was found. She hung herself from a light fixture in room 502. At the time of her death, she was 29 years old, and she just found out that she was pregnant. She also was infected with the tuberculosis.
Oof.
So the thought of having the depression of being a 29-year-old pregnant, not married,
probably gonna die,
infected person was too much for her to burden. She decided that the best route for her was suicide, unfortunately.
Man.
Another version of the story states that the father of Mary's baby was a married doctor at the hospital. He performed a botched abortion, which ended in Mary's death.
Ooh.
He then hung her body to make it look like a suicide. That is a juicy fucking story right there.
That is, yes.
That's very juicy. There's in the research, it kept pointing to the fact that there was no time frame of how long she hung there before she was found. So
wow, yeah, it could have been a minute.
It's possible that she was actually there for. She might still fucking be there right now, just waiting for Nickalicious and Dawg to come up the fun slide the wrong way. Like, hey, we're coming up and no one's coming down. I'll climb this thing with fucking socks on. I don't care. I'm the real fucking deal.
I was not expecting you to say she might be there right now.
In 1932, another nurse jumped from the room and plunged to her death. No one knows why she committed suicide or what she was dealing with in her life. Now, also, I got some research from Waverly Hills History and Legends.wordpress.com. In the early 1990s, there was not any security in Waverly Hills, and this often led to a lot of trespassing and vandalism.
Naturally.
During this time, many homeless people took refuge in the old sanatorium, especially in the wintertime. I almost overlooked this when researching for ghost stories, but something about this interested me and allowed myself to get sidetracked and more deeply investigated the issue. What I found was surprisingly relevant to my topic, so in order to make this ghost story more significant, I'm going to go a little bit further into the backstory. One night, 2 teenage boys were roaming the property of Waverly Hills. They had planned to vandalize the place in the name of Satan, as they were avid devil worshippers. Upon entering the sanatorium, they came across a homeless man using the sanatorium as shelter. They proceeded to brutally murder him for the sake of the devil. Afterwards, they threw his body from the 4th floor to the bottom of the elevator shaft. It is said that his soul now haunts the old elevator shaft, and many groups of tourists that have come in for private tours claim that objects have been thrown at them while walking past the elevator, most commonly a fucking brick.
Ooh.
Jesus.
Macaulay Culkin them.
God damn. Hope you got your catchers, Mick. About to throw this fucking brick at you real quick.
Don't come up here. I'm really scared.
No, I'm about to throw this fucking brick at you real quick. It's a bad fucking ghost right there, dude.
Right. Enough with, like, not even, like, sticks or something like that. It's fucking chucking bricks.
Yeah. Now, I do have a pre-recorded story for this next one. This is the Creeper. People that have seen the Creeper refuse to return to Waverly Hills altogether. It is said to... Some have said it's a small humanoid creature that crawls up the fucking walls.
It's got a pencil mustache.
It smokes Camel lights. If you make visual contact with the Creeper, you are instructed by the owners of the property to leave, ask no questions, do not stop, go.
Drives a windowless van.
Yeah. Sends fucking pipe bombs in the mail to all the Democrats in the country. I think that's right. I think he sent them to the Democrats. I forget who's who.
Yeah.
What the fuck ever. So you're supposed to, the owners are all like, ooh, we've got a scary building here. You come through and get scared by all the ghosts. And they're like, but no, for real, if you see this thing, you need to get the fuck out of here because it's going to fuck you up. And you're like, oh, shit. Oh, no. You're not. Are you kidding about that one or are you serious? Because I'm trying to take my girlfriend through here. We've never had sex before. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to get laid tonight or not. So I need to know if I really need to run from this thing or not. They say if you make visual contact with it, fucking leave because it normally inflicts physical harm on you.
Fucking leave.
Yeah. Get the shit and get the fuck out. So there's also a story from a gentleman that came forward in recent years in his later years of life. He was in his 90s, and this was his very own words, and we have the story that I recorded, and we're gonna put it in right now. And this is true. This is not us being fucking slapdicks either. This is a fucking real story. How does one come forward with such an event without facing harsh ridicule, laughter, and glares? During that time, not one employee working inside the Woodhaven, aka Waverly Hills, dared talk about such things for fear of being discredited. It is no secret that the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky is known to be the most haunted sanatorium of them all. I never believed in all the paranormal stuff. My wife and I are devout Christians, and we don't believe in such things. However, I most certainly do now. The creeper is a real tangible entity. A small group of us have had the vision of this terrifying black image burned into our subconscious forever and evermore. There is no erasing this event from our minds, and what we witnessed inside the ECT, the electroconvulsive therapy treatment room, that cool August morning back in 1967. Those of us who were non-believers soon became believers concerning the paranormal, and we would never be the same again. Most took this encounter to their graves. Keep in mind, we were, and even still are, afraid of that entity's long reach. All but one nurse who, without bad intent, let the cat out of the bag when her daughter made the fatal mistake of copying and posting the child's Woodhaven case file on Facebook for a friend to read. This was a very private, personal file her mother had stolen and kept hidden for over 50 years. However, the story is out, and there's no turning back. As of August 2015, I have been reading quite a few articles about the child Richard, or as we called him, Shadow Eyes, on the web. I expected ridicule, not support from everyone. Nevertheless, much to my surprise, many have shown support and have much fascination with the story concerning the creeper. As an old man reaching 96, it's time I share what I know of that day, the way it happened back in 1967. Richard arrives. I had been working part-time on the 4th floor as a nurse's aide and became good friends with Nurse Wilson and Nurse Holland during the time. I also knew the director, Albert Bordenero, for a long while. I clearly remember the events in that room as if they had happened yesterday. I will only address this one paranormal incident where there were too many to cover, and I won't be discussing any abuse that took place upon the child that week. I had no hand in that back then, and I want no part of that now. Everything changed inside the entire sanatorium the very minute that the child Richard walked into the building. It was very perplexing, to say the least. We were put out by the amount of squawking crows that morning flying all around the child as he stepped out of the black Plymouth. Those crows numbered in the thousands and were flying, landing all over Waverly. I met Richard in the house when they took his ID picture. The terror this child was feeling at the time was quite apparent to us all. For being such a little lad, he had a strong presence. He seemed to me much like a cherub, and I felt he was what we called back then an old soul. He was a beautiful little boy, polite, always replying with a yes sir or yes ma'am. He never said a word to the men unless asked a question. He was very gentle and moved and walked about quietly, much like a cat. Eventually, he would come to be known affectionately as Shadow Eyes. I remember the child made eye contact with all of us briefly. He avoided looking at us menfolk mostly, his glare. Those penetrating green eyes still resonate with me today. The child had a strong distrust of men. His eyes alone told the story. Richard was able to see right through us menfolk, read our minds like an open book. From then on, I stayed clear of his gaze, making sure to never have direct eye contact with him. Now on to the shock therapy. The first time I saw the smelly black entity known as the Creeper was on August 23rd, 1967 at around 10:30 a.m. Richard was wheeled into the room for his second ECT and strapped down onto the table. There were 2 doctors from outside the sanatorium whom I'd never seen before. 1 male nurse, 1 male orderly, and 1 female nurse. I overheard the doctors discussing upping the voltage on the ECT machine way too much for a little child to endure. I feel that may have triggered the whole event. When they hit the on switch and the electricity hit the child, he let out a scream that was so loud and ear-piercing it gave me a headache. The child spit out his rubber mouth guard, and the things only worsened for him then. Dr. Buckman slapped the child in the face and scolded him for spitting out his rubber guard onto the floor. When he slapped that boy in the face, the atmosphere changed quickly. The look in Richard's eyes were pure rage. I had never seen such a look from a child before. He was directing his gaze right at Dr. Buckman. His face turned blood red, sweat poured from the child, the veins in his neck and his arms were pulsating. The child was strapped down and seemed so helpless now. It was making me sick to watch the abuse. I was about to leave the room when they hit the switch for a second time. The screaming only intensified, becoming louder and more violent. The child was screaming for his life, for his father, his mother, to God to help him get off that table and make it all stop. I looked over to Nurse Holland, who was beginning to cry and panic for the child's safety. At this point, Richard soiled his pants and urinated on the table. Then his eyes looked as though they were lit up, perhaps from electricity. His eyes glowed and started to bleed. He threw up, choking on his vomit, and white foam began to run from his mouth. Unable to scream any longer, little Richard went still. It seemed to me the doctors were enjoying this. I wanted to call the police. "One more time," Dr. Bender said, not giving the child a moment to rest or clear out his throat. At this point, Richard looked as though he had passed out. Yet they hit the switch again, and something terrifying happened. The creeper appears. The radiator in the treatment room began to clang and clang as though it was being struck with a hammer. Crows were flying into the window as if they were trying to break the glass, and then started piling up on the outside window ledge. The sounds from the radiator and the crows became louder and louder. From the northeast corner of the ceiling, a black haze started dripping down to the ground. It was not actually touching the ground, however. Instead, it collected a few inches off the floor. The smell of burnt flesh, sulfur, and rotten eggs filled the room. This thing started growing in size, and within seconds, it was about 9 feet high, a solid black mist. It started taking on the shape of having only a head and shoulder area. Then it broke that form, floating with what looked like black and gray spider webs draping behind the mist as it moved over and shrouded the child like a big black blanket. We all heard the grumbling, a terrifying, very deep tone, a broken static-like voice saying,
"Get out! Get out! Go for the child, leave him now!"
Not one of us was able to move a muscle. We were unable to see the child through the black mist, but we were definitely seeing, smelling, and hearing this thing before us. I was thinking, what if that thing somehow consumes the child right before us? Talk about a lawsuit. The glass beakers began to fly off the shelves, crashing into the walls. Books, papers, anything not glued down began to fly around the room. Nurse Holland, hit in the face with the flying glass, fainted to the floor. We all took off running out of the room, all of us, and I am not proud of myself for leaving that woman on the floor. 2 of us went back within minutes with a gurney for Nurse Holland. I grabbed a camera and was able to take a snapshot of the entity now standing in the doorway to the room. The entity then vanished from the room faster than it appeared. After tending to Nurse Holland, we all ended up in the chapel talking and trying to pull ourselves together. Nurse Holland was fine, just a few cuts and scrapes. She said to the doctors, "I want to go get little Richard off the table. Take him to his room, get him showered, and cleaned up, and tend to him." She was ordered by the doctor, "You leave that freak right where he is." There was something that none of us in that room can really ever explain. Things worsened health-wise for some of us. A few died shortly after. Some quit and moved out of Kentucky altogether, heading in different directions with their lives. I hear that the picture I took of that entity after all those years ended up in the possession of the child Richard. I believe that little child's pain and suffering that morning somehow brought about the manifestation of the entity that many now call the creeper in front of the 5 people inside Woodhaven. It was clear to us all standing in that room that morning that the entity was without a doubt protecting Richard from his abusers. To tell the truth, I was glad for that. However, all involved paid dearly for their part in the torment, abuse, and sufferings they heaped upon that child. I have gone on and lived a full, long life, as did Nurse Holland, and I feel that Nurse Holland and I being the only ones in our hearts against this abuse fared well. Criticisms have continued concerning these accounts. A lot of focus was placed on those who were there and viewed this entity through our own eyes. However, the doctors and professors of parapsychology know better and stand firmly behind the poltergeist event, as do I. God bless Shadow Eyes. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire! Dun, 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 dun. Little Richard.
Little Dick.
He's alive. He lived through that. What do you think of that story, Rob?
Pretty good, man.
Gary.
Oh, sorry, my phone went
No,
off.
it's fine. I fucking dig it. I like dropping some Verizon Wireless in there.
There you go.
Let them know what you're thinking.
Yeah, you did a really good job on that,
Thank
too.
you. I did that while my child was sleeping today.
Yeah, very, very well executed.
My wife's like, why isn't the fucking house clean? I was like, I was making movies.
I was doing some cool stuff.
I was doing YouTube tutorials. I was opening up presents. I was opening up blind bags on YouTube so I can make millions of dollars. Yeah. But I have some EVPs. Do you want to touch on them, or are you working with some time restraints right now?
I'm good, man.
Okay. All right. Well,
Let's shoot.
I'm gonna plug in these EVPs real quick, and then that will be the show. So
All right.
stand by, guys. All right, and this one here, 15 seconds in, they claim the EVP says, "Get the fucker." So we're gonna start with that one.
All right.
This is actually in the electroshock room on the first floor.
Okay.
People dropping equipment. Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Electroshock room.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty clear.
Get the fucker.
Are you a patient here?
I'm here.
Yeah, you can hear it there.
Yeah, you can hear it saying over and over, "I'm here, I'm here, I'm here." In this one, they claim they hear a woman screaming, and then she says, "Get out." I can definitely hear the woman screaming in this one, but the "get out" is a little subjective.
Okay.
And this one's pretty creepy too. You can hear the EVP pick up something saying, "We've been here a long time."
Yeah. We have been here a long time.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck that.
Fuck. That's how you know you guys gotta get the fuck out of there.
Just
honestly.
burn it down. Burn it down.
All right, Rob, I'm tired of fighting with the fucking volume on those EVPs.
Some of those were really loud.
They were very fucking loud. You people on YouTube need to get your editing skills together.
Yeah, that's wild.
Get on par with Rob Dawg and I.
Yeah. We run a tight operation.
We fucking we edit out coughs. We edit out coughs and shit.
Yeah, we do.
And we just
We're on top of the fucking world.
Fucking professionals.
We salvaged what we could there.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, guys.
It's been a fucking great time.
That's all we have for the Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
We'll be back
We
sometime.
will be back. I think you may hate us. We talked about maybe taking a break next week, or
just finishing up our Q&A.
finishing the Q&A. Or what'll happen is Rob will call me in a couple days. But let's just do this. Let's just do this. Or I'll call him and be like, let's just do this.
Right.
We'll knock it out. Or maybe we'll get with our buddy and he'll give us a Patreon topic, which would be easiest. I
Right.
feel like just pull the trigger. Tell us what you want us to do, and we'll do it for you. So thanks for listening, guys. We hope we can catch up with you soon. And I'm again, I just want to say thank you to the people that came out to the live show. Had a fantastic fucking time.
So fun.
Thanks to the people that did it with us, Hillbilly Horror Stories and Twisted Philly.
Always awesome.
We'd love to hear from you guys on Facebook, the Brohio Podcast. Hit us up on Instagram at Brohio Podcast. Send us an email at brohiopodcast.com.
If I had the hotline number, I would tell you to call the hotline number. We
There
need to
is a-
resurrect that thing.
There is a hotline number. I do not know it off the top of my head. We have like a Google Voice.
Yeah. It doesn't charge you to call.
No, you can just call and leave us a. You can leave us a voicemail, Now, hold on a second. I'm almost there.
Okay, I'm ready. We'll sit here and awkward silence. Awkward silence will fill this gap a little bit.
Settings.
Yeah, we're getting
Our Google Voice number.
Here you
if
go.
If you would like to call
us.
Leave the bros a voicemail. If we like the voicemail enough, we will play it on the air.
As long as you're not asking us what we got grocery shopping.
Right. It's 937. That's area code 937-815-0411.
There you go.
If you want to call that number, we might pick up. If I got the notifications turned off, but if I'm on the app and you call, I'll talk to you. Like, people have butt dialed us on Snapchat before, and I'm like,
yeah.
Hello? They're like, oh, wow. What? Hello? I'm like, hey, this is Nick. What the fuck?
What the fuck do you want?
So, yeah, if we're on and you call us, we'll talk to you. It's not, we're not super busy guys, so we're not fucking superstars or anything. But you can call that number, leave a voicemail. We'll get it. If we like it, we'll play it on the air. That's 937-815-0411. That's the Brohio hotline.
We need to bring that back.
Toll free. All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Hit it up.
We love you.
We love you so much.
Bye.